Beach Symphony, and last time I was here at Rotary was, I think, like 8 years ago, and I taught you all how to conduct. So next time I'm going to give you a brush-up lesson, because I'm kind of worried about this. But this is not about me, this is about our wonderful guest, Pepe Romero, who grew up in Spain into a very musical family of guitar players, took lessons with his father, had this amazing career, international career. You recorded also a lot, and the best thing is you live right next door, just here in Southern Cal. I will not disclose where you live. And he is going to perform with the Long Beach Symphony this Saturday evening, the concerto by Rodrigo with the orchestra. And so, welcome, Pepe. It's always a pleasure having you.
It's always a pleasure to come back to Long Beach, to your wonderful orchestra and your magnificent conductor. And when I was introduced, you were told that I was a knight. So now you know, if the King of Spain gets in trouble, who has to get in a horse and go defend him. Accompanied, of course, by my brothers.
I kind of want to start at the very beginning, and that's maybe a question for all of you as well. When you try to remember the first time you encountered music that you liked, or the first time you encountered classical music. And I was wondering, what is your very first musical memory?
I can't really recall the very first one. I was told on the night that my father passed that he received me playing the guitar for me, and that he wanted to live with me playing the guitar for him. So I think that music, the first time I heard it, I was in the womb. And my mother used to say stories about when my brother Celine was born, and he was born in a very terrible day where Malaga was being bombed by 9 airplanes. And Celine was born on that very tragic day. And she used to say, and guess what your father was doing? He was making a transcription of Cadiz by Albeniz and playing the guitar. It's not true, he actually did go and get the doctor, but once the doctor came in, he did get his guitar and play. So music has always been an amazing thing in my life and in the life of my family. And I have seen the power of music at the moment of real need. And I have seen what it does to people who are sick, to people who are in trouble. Music is wonderful when we are happy and we want to celebrate with it. But it's really our great comforter that we need music in our lives.
And I actually think that the most beautiful music is sad music. And I think the best music was written when people were unhappy, when the composers were unhappy, because that is a big motivator to create something beautiful.
Yes, and some amazing thing is if we look at the music that Mozart gave us. Mozart was having a terrible life, and he was producing the most beautiful and healing and joyful, exuberant explosions of joy came out of a troubled person. So
there's actually an overture, and I forgot which one, where his child just died the day before, and he wrote this incredibly happy overture.
Yes,
it's just amazing.
You know? Well, the concerto that we're going to play It has every kind of emotion that a person can feel. Starting with the first movement, it's a very, very happy, joyful tune in which he celebrates his remembering his honeymoon with Victoria, with his wife, in Aranjuez. The second movement, although it is the cry of a man who has lost their firstborn child, takes us through it takes us through the life of a child that never had a chance, but he did through the music of his father, because in it you don't find only sadness, you find love, you find hope, you find in this second movement is the relationship of the father to what he could have been, what the child could have been. And through music, someone who over 70, 80 years, I forget, well, it was 1939 that the concerto was written. Through this, someone who only made it to a few hours after birth continues living. When we hear it, we connect with this being, we connect with that love. So, and then the third movement is on the children's nursery rhyme, and it's a celebration of himself and Vicky and Victoria going on with life. And you will hear things that release pa pa pam pa 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 pim pom pom ti tam tam, and this pom pom pa pa pam. Very few people know what it actually means, and it is a conversation between Vicky talking to him, and then he answers, "Yes, dear, as you want, as you wish," and he keeps answering, "Yes, dear, as you wish." It has humor, it has everything.
I didn't know about his humor, but it's a very smart man. It's a very smart man.
Yes, and we will do it.
Totally change the interpretation right there. Yeah. You got it. We're gonna do it. You talk a lot about your father, and I think we should mention that not only was your father a very famous guitar player, but also your two brothers are guitar players as well, and you have this very famous the Romeros or Los Romeros or something.
Either way.
Yeah. Anyway, a quartet of guitar players who played a lot of concerts and solos. And so your father was obviously a very important figure in your life. If there was, your father yourself, your grandfather, you're going to be, as I hear, to be a great grandfather in just a month's time, reflecting on what it means to be a father. What is the one thing, if you had to narrow it down to one thing that you really learned from your father? What was passed on to you that's ingrained in you that you always remember at certain moments in your life, in your day, in your performance, in your preparation?
I think that from my father, it was how to look for the beauty in everything, and how you can take any life's experience, turn it into music. I cannot do all the things that he did because he was also a wonderful poet. So he was either turning experiences into poetry or into a composition or a performance. And he was always looking for the beauty in life and never gave up. And I saw him in very difficult times, incredibly difficult times, in which he always turned to music. And I think that that passion and that love for music, but for music because it could express the passion that he felt and the love he felt for humanity, for nature, for everything that touched him. I think that is what I have constantly in my mind, that example that he gave us.
That's actually really beautiful. I'm just curious. I have a brother too, who's also a conductor. You have two brothers who are also guitar players, plus your father. All the same business. What was, or maybe is, the dynamic there, especially when it comes to success, when you, on the same business, someone will be more successful than the other. I think you have out-famous your father too. How does that work? How does that make you feel when you deal with kind of fame and competition within the family?
Because my father was very brilliant. He never let us at the beginning. He was very careful what piece each one of us played. So we never played the same pieces. We played different pieces. So there you had that competition of who can play this better. No, because we were playing different repertoire. But I've always felt that I am a part of something. I never have felt alone when I'm on the stage. I feel the energy, I feel the power that I have had from being in my family and having my father, who was my absolute favorite guitarist that I've ever heard, the most elegant, beautiful musician. My two brothers, who I admire immensely and respect what they do, and each musician, if you're really true, there is nothing, the best doesn't exist, because we have to be ourselves, and each one of us is very different, and we have basically the same technique, but we play very, very different. And if you hear Concierto de Aranjuez with my brother Angel, it's magnificent. He actually did the West Coast premiere of the piece with the Long Beach Symphony many, many years ago. His Concierto de Aranjuez is magnificent. It's very different from mine. So that uniqueness was ever present to me in our family. And it is the strength that I get from my family that has carried and given me the power to have accomplished whatever I have.
You talked about also your father living through difficult times. I'm just curious because we as artists always go through this inevitably. We encounter a moment or a period of crisis. It can be artistic, it could be personal, it could be emotional, whatever it is. Can you remember or describe kind of, when you encountered a moment of crisis or period of crisis, how you got out of it?
Never lose hope. And one of the energy that I feel that music has, and all the arts, is hope. Never give up, never lose faith, never lose hope. And crisis, I was born at the time in Spain where executions were happening, where artists were being persecuted for the thoughts of freedom, free thinkers were put in jail. My father was put in jail. And so if you were not with Franco, you had been in the Republic side of the war, then you were not discriminated, but your life was made very, very hard. And I remember what it was like to be hungry, what it was like to be scared. But there was always in my what I do remember is that my house was filled with music, with the friends of my father, who were painters, poets, writers, all kinds of other instrumentalists, singers. And it was a happy place because when you walked in, it was an oasis in the middle of it, but terrifying. Outside the house was terrifying. Inside the house, it was beautiful.
You've performed, I don't even know how many thousands of concerts you've done. And especially, and that's kind of the last question before I open it up for Q&A, so you can kind of think about what you want to ask. When you play a concerto like the Rotary that we're going to do on Saturday, I think last time I asked you, how often have you performed it? And you said thousands or something?
Yes.
Something like
It's
1,000
been
times.
more than 1,000 times.
So how, after all these performances, I mean, you've seen it all, you've heard it all, you've felt it all, how do you keep the sense of wonder alive?
Well, the first wonder that any artist has is it going to go well? Is this the time I'm going to really mess it up? And so the responsibility that you feel to let the music flow out of you and let it be what the composer intended and not damage it in the process, I think keeps it so that every time you play it is fresh. Then I am the kind of musician that I believe that improvisation is very much a part of performance. But of course, I hope I'm not going to improvise any notes on it. But I hope that the performance, the interpretation will be improvised. It will be what Eckart and I are feeling and what Eckart is transmitting to the orchestra, and that when we play it, is improvised because it becomes a living thing.
And it's always, I mean, I always feel like I'm just a mediator, you know, between the musicians in the orchestra and...
So are we, so are all we are.
Yeah. And by the way, you were talking about the second movement. There's a big English horn solo, and you will recognize it because it is super, super famous. And I would say there's a 50% chance that some of you will cry. Maybe 60, I go as high as 60. But it's the most beautiful thing, and it's just, you just play chords. It's this very intimate and incredibly sad thing when the orchestra doesn't play. And it's not a big orchestra, and they all play this tune in forte, and it's so emotional every single time.
It is, and you'll hear that tune goes from the English horn to the guitar, back to the English horn, back to the guitar. Everybody has a chance to speak. And it is Rodrigo speaking to us. And then you'll hear all of those sentiments together in his grand tutti. When the guitar enters, is the acceptance of Rodrigo. When the guitar enters at the end, is the acceptance of Rodrigo to God's will, and it ends with the orchestra holding a chord and the guitar ascending with ascending harmonics, which signifies this soul of the baby going up, going to heaven.
So you should definitely come. I'm going to open it up for some Q&A.